You're listening to Quantum Harry the Podcast, a podcast version of the book Quantum Harry, A Unified Theory of the Potterverse by B.L. Purdom. Episode 25, The Wand Game. I just have to start off by saying that this is definitely episode 25 of Quantum Harry the Podcast, even though it has a different title than the one I mentioned at the end of episode 24, The Deathly Scavenger Hunt. I honestly have no idea why, a very long time ago, I thought it was a good title for this episode, when that's not really what it's about. So I don't know what I was thinking, but this really is episode 25, it's called The Wand Game, and now it's time to move on. This episode is the beginning of a new multi-episode arc about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, so if you missed episodes 23 and 24, which were a 2-episode arc about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, you should go back. The easiest way to locate any episode you want to listen or re-listen to is to go to the Quantum Harry Twitter page, @QHPodcast, and click on the link in the pinned tweet that takes you to the Quantum Harry episode guide, which is links to all of the episodes in audio and video formats, plus links to blog posts related to some of the episodes. In episode 1 of Quantum Harry the Podcast, The Kids Table, I talked about the unifying theme running throughout the 7-book Harry Potter series: games, toys, sweets, fairy tales, childhood, and children in general, as well as why this is the overarching theme tying everything together, and how this theme connects to both the hero, Harry, and to his nemesis, Voldemort. After taking 6 episodes, episodes 2 through 7, to examine the archetypes ruling the first 6 books in the series, J.K. Rowling's game pieces, I took 2 episodes, 8 and 9, to examine not only the archetype ruling the 7th book in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, but the archetype that is the most important and prominent one in the series, the archetype that describes more characters than any other single archetype Rowling uses, the liminal being, especially the variation that I call the metaphorically queer liminal being. For the previous 15 episodes, I've been examining the role of games, toys, sweets, and fairy tales in the first 6 Harry Potter books, taking 2 episodes to examine 3 of the books, Philosopher's Stone, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Half-Blood Prince, and 3 episodes to examine the other 3 books, Chamber of Secrets, Goblet of Fire, and Order of the Phoenix. However, just as 2 episodes were required to cover all of the necessary ground for the archetype ruling the 7th book, I need a lot more than 2 or even 3 episodes to look at games, toys, and fairy tales in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So in the next 5 episodes, I'll be examining those themes in the 7th Harry Potter book. This will take 5 episodes because, while there's no literal Quidditch in the 7th book of the series, every time Harry is obtaining a Horcrux in the 7th book, it's like he's playing a virtual game of Quidditch. This is what J.K. Rowling has been leading up to. First, she took each Quidditch match or another game, like the Triwizard Tournament, from a mock war or virtual war to a literal war. Then, partway through the 4th book, the midpoint of the series, she flipped the script, and from then on, each battle Harry fought took on game-like overtones, requiring the combatants to be consummate game players in order to win the battle, which had become a virtual game. In what would have been Harry's 7th year in school, when he would normally have played 3 Quidditch matches against Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw, he instead plays virtual Quidditch matches to get Slytherin's locket from Dolores Umbridge, to get Hufflepuff's cup from Little Strange Bank Vault, and to get and destroy Ravenclaw's diadem in the Room of Requirement. Plus, Harry plays many other war games in the service of defeating Voldemort, one of the most important being the Wand Game. In Goblet of Fire, Voldemort's and Harry's wands refuse to fight each other because they have the same wand core, a phoenix feather from Fawkes. This was the 3rd wand revelation that J.K. Rowling gave her readers, the first 2 being that the wand chooses the wizard, and that a damaged wand, like Ron's wand in Chamber of Secrets, can backfire on the user, or otherwise behave unpredictably. Once we learn more rules of the wand game in Deathly Hallows, it's clear that Ron's broken wand is responding as if he is no longer its master. The wand/owner covenant is broken. In Episode 1, The Kids' Table, I talked about the metaphorical quantum entanglement between Harry and Voldemort, but this isn't the only type of metaphorical entanglement in the series. Wizards and their wands are also entangled. After it breaks, Ron and his wand are no longer entangled, if they ever truly were, since we're told early on that he's using Charlie's old wand. It's unclear why he would be using Charlie's old wand, unless Charlie also inherited this from a family member and wanted to acquire a wand that had truly chosen him before going off to Romania to study dragons. It seems like it would be a good idea to have a simpatico wand to cast the spells necessary to control fire-breathing dragons. In Deathly Hallows, when Harry's phoenix feather and holly wand breaks on Christmas Eve, which is linked to holly, he feels, quote, as if the best part of his magical power had been torn from him. He also recalls feeling, quote, the wand spin like the needle of a compass and shoot golden flames at his enemy, unquote, when he's fleeing Privet Drive. This mystifies him and Voldemort, who's using Lucius Malfoy's wand at that time, a wand he hasn't properly won from Lucius. Ollivander also doesn't understand why Harry's wand acts on its own, though Harry has an epiphany about this after he dies. In Deathly Hallows, we learn that wands don't want to act against their owners. A wand is linked to a single master, and it seems that a wand that has dueled with an enemy who is out to kill can remember this and act on its own against that enemy, if the wand's owner is in jeopardy from the same person again, as Harry was during his flight from Privet Drive, when his wand seemed to remember Voldemort. And we're talking here about Voldemort the person, not just Voldemort's wand, which he used to cast the killing curse against Harry in Goblet of Fire. So even though Voldemort is using a different wand now, Harry's wand seems to remember who was wielding the wand when the spell was cast, and it reacts against Voldemort, independently attacking him without Harry using the wand to cast a spell. I believe that this is comparable to magical children who accidentally perform magic when they're extremely emotional or in peril, such as when Harry unconsciously magically protects himself before he knows he's a wizard. This is also the reaction that Neville's great-uncle was hoping to get when he dropped Neville off Blackpool Pier, and Neville obliged. He performed magic that saved his life. Once a child is old enough to have a wand, some of the child's magic seems to reside in the wand itself, another example of metaphorical quantum entanglement in the series, because that child's power was initially a single entity residing in the child, but after the wand chose the child, some of the child's power seems to be split off and becomes a part of the wand's power. This produces the same result for Harry when he's fleeing Privet Drive as when he was under the age of 11 and performed accidental defensive magic. This can also explain his sensation of having lost part of his magic when the Holly and Phoenix Feather wand breaks. In addition to this, Harry's wand evidently imbibed power from Voldemort's wand when the brother wands dueled in the graveyard, and this power is turned against Harry's enemy when he's attacked during the flight from Surrey. This becomes the last rule of the wand game, and we don't learn it until nearly the end of the 7th book. But it's consistent with what we already know about a person's innate magical ability rising up and protecting that person when the need is great, because the wand itself is an extension of the magical power of the wizard who is its master. The two, human and wand, collided, became entangled, and they share divided parts of what was once a single entity, that wizard's magical power. The third wand revelation, about brother wands not being willing to fight each other, fulfills foreshadowing from the first book when Ollivander tells Harry that his and Voldemort's wands each have a feather from the same phoenix, which is another instance when metaphorical quantum entanglement affects the rules of the wand game. The weighing of the wands in Goblet of Fire also reminds readers of this connection, though Ollivander doesn't mention it at the weighing. But Harry wonders if he might mention it, which sets up the conflict between the two brother wands later in the 4th book. The wand weighing also provides Harry with the name of Victor Krumm's wand maker, Gregorovitch, which becomes important in Deathly Hallows. Despite the linked wands in Goblet of Fire, Rowling doesn't obviously tip off readers in the 4th book that the wand game is a game, and that more rules are forthcoming. However, after the first 6 books, we know that confrontations between her characters must occur in the context of warlike games or game-like battles, so the internal logic of Harry's world dictates that the most prominent weapons in the series, wands, must also be equipment for a game. Harry and Voldemort's ultimate confrontation with wands must take on game-like overtones. Given what has gone before, it makes sense that there's more to the wand game than just wands choosing their wizards, broken wands backfiring, and brother wands not being able to duel each other. Rowling could have stuck to these 3 rules, but this would be more limiting than what she decided to do, and she may have wanted to avoid telegraphing more of her rules sooner so that the climax of the last book wouldn't be obvious. It's significant, though, that every single rule of the wand game, both these 3 and the others that are later revealed, all have to do with metaphorical quantum entanglement. The disarming charm first appears in the 2nd book, and we see it again in the 3rd and 4th books. Harry also teaches it to Dumbledore's army in the 5th book, even though some of the DA members call it pointless. Draco Malfoy specifically chooses to disarm Dumbledore in the 6th book, rather than killing him, as he was ordered to do. It's unclear whether he has regularly used this spell, rather than more obvious offensive spells, but we know that he witnessed this spell performed by Snape against Gilderoy Lockhart during the dueling club meeting in the 2nd book. Ultimately, if Draco hadn't used Harry's signature move, Harry could not have defeated Voldemort in the way that he did. However, all that we learn about this spell in books 2 through 6 is that the person being disarmed at best loses possession of their wand, and at worst may be thrown backward violently. The wand being loyal to the disarmer, its new master, is not addressed prior to the 7th book, though we repeatedly see the person doing the disarming catch the disarmed person's wand as if that person is now the wand's master. Considering how often disarming occurs in DA meetings, it also seems that if the person who's done the disarming returns the wand to the original owner, the shift in ownership is negated, and the previous wand/owner relationship reasserts itself. If this weren't true, the moment the DA members were disarmed during meetings, they would no longer be masters of their wands. It's also possible that practice sessions, not being true duels, don't cause shifts in wand/master relations. The intent of the disarming may come into play, just as Harry's wand registers that Voldemort's intent is to kill Harry when their wands link, so he's ever after classified as an enemy by Harry's wand. So we see a rule of the wand game displayed before the 4th book, when the 3rd explicit rule is given to readers because of the Phoenix Feather wands linking, but we don't know that the wand game is a game, or that disarming someone making you master of that someone's wand is a rule of the wand game until the 7th book. On Harry's 17th birthday, he awakes saying Gregorovitch, a person he knows Voldemort is seeking because of the link between them, because of their metaphorical quantum entanglement, in other words. Though he can't say why yet, Harry thinks the name has to do with Quidditch. It does, both metaphorically and literally. Gregorovitch made Victor Krumm's wand, and Harry links Victor with Quidditch, despite his also being a fellow champion and someone who dated one of his best friends. On top of this, at Bill and Fleur's wedding, Harry noticed that Krumm, quote, was causing a stir, particularly amongst the Vila cousins. He was, after all, a famous Quidditch player. Of the many ways that Harry could think of Krumm, Hermione's ex, a fellow Triwizard champion, even as a friend, the only one that springs to mind is linked to Quidditch. Whether Harry is hunting Horcruxes or working out Voldemort's next move, Quidditch, a game that's also a mock war, is always intimately involved, drawing together the threads of the Quidditch and wand game metaphors, which is part of how Rowling tells us that wands are part of an elaborate game. Voldemort seems unaware of various important aspects of the wand game, which is consistent for someone who disregards toys and games and everything to do with childhood. As the 7th book begins, Voldemort is searching for a better piece of game equipment, a better weapon to use against Harry. He requires Lucius Malfoy to give him his wand, give being the operative word. Despite having kidnapped Ollivander for his wand expertise, Voldemort does not understand that this is not the way to take possession of a wand. He is not its new master merely because he's asked for it and Lucius hands it to him, though he successfully uses it to kill Charity Burbage, the Hogwarts Muggle Studies teacher. She isn't in a position to fight back, so Voldemort isn't dueling against someone who's master of their wand, making this an insufficient test of his mastery over Lucius Malfoy's wand. Because of this, he has no reason to expect to prevail with this wand against Harry, even if Harry's wand had not also recognized Voldemort as an enemy. This mirrors Voldemort's problem at the end of the book, but with a twist, since by then he's wielding a wand over which Harry is the master, a far worse situation than merely fighting someone who's master of their wand while you're not master of your wand. Harry might have known this sooner if he had a hotter temper. After his wand breaks, he uses Hermione's for guard duty, thinking, quote, Hermione looked frightened that he might curse her with her own wand. Harry would have failed, of course. The curse would have rebounded upon him, and he would have learned another wand game rule, which he later guesses at. Your own wand cannot be made to do something by someone else that is not your will. It seems significant that Rowling has Harry think that Hermione looked frightened that Harry might curse her with her own wand just after Harry's wand becomes useless to him. From here to the end of the book, Harry's wand mastery is in almost constant flux, and his wand mastery is crucial to Voldemort's defeat. Ron's adventures after leaving Harry and Hermione include disarming a snatcher trying to apprehend him, which gives him a spare wand for Harry, though it's not a wand over which Harry is master. He doesn't find the Blackthorn wand that Ron gives him very effective, since he didn't win it from its previous owner. Ron did that. As ever, Hermione doesn't relate to games. She doesn't grasp the wand game any better than Quidditch, telling Harry, you just need to practice, and it's all a matter of confidence. Harry needs to disarm the previous owner or otherwise defeat that owner in some sort of battle, even hand-to-hand combat, which is how he gets Draco's wand, in order to be the wand's true master. Nothing will change that. Surely Voldemort doesn't lack practice or confidence when he fails to kill Harry with Lucius Malfoy's wand. The wand game is of utmost importance when Harry and Ron charge into the room at Malfoy Manor where Bellatrix Lestrange is torturing Hermione. Ron disarms Bellatrix with Wormtail's wand, over which he is master, having taken it by force, and by doing this, he also becomes master of Bellatrix's wand. She seems as ignorant of the wand game rules as Voldemort, threatening to stab Hermione to convince Ron to simply put down the wands he's holding. But this means that Ron is still master of them. If she'd disarmed him, which is an unlikely choice for Voldemort and his followers, she would have had the advantage. Now, is it possible that Snape might have told the dueling club about this in Chamber of Secrets if the one meeting of the club hadn't broken up in chaos once Harry spoke Parseltongue to the snake Draco conjured? Sure, maybe. But it's obvious that Rowling was withholding this information from her characters, and therefore her readers, because the revelations about some very important wand game rules could have constituted a massive spoiler for the end of the 7th book. After Bellatrix has Ron put down the wands he's holding, Wormtail's and Bellatrix's, Draco picking up these wands doesn't make him their master either. Ironically, all of this is occurring as Harry channels Voldemort breaking into Grindelwald's cell, where he's gone in hopes of learning where the Elder Wand is. If Voldemort had put some thought into it, he'd have realized that Dumbledore's defeat of Grindelwald long ago made Dumbledore the master of the Elder Wand. But almost at the exact moment that Voldemort learns the wand's location, Harry becomes its master. Dobby's effort to rescue Harry, Ron, Hermione, and the others who've been held prisoner at the Malfoys produces enough chaos that Harry can forcibly take all 3 wands that Draco is holding. Wormtail's wand, over which Ron had been master, but now Harry is. Bellatrix's wand, over which Ron had also been master, having disarmed her. And most importantly, Harry takes Draco's wand. Harry realizes much later that this makes him master over any wand recognizing Draco as master, including the Elder Wand, which Dumbledore lost mastery of when Draco disarmed him. Harry is now master of Wormtail's, Bellatrix's, and Draco's wands, plus the Elder Wand. At Shell Cottage, Harry asks Ollivander to mend his broken wand, the one made of phoenix feather and holly. Ollivander says it's beyond his skills. He correctly identifies the wands that Harry shows him, Bellatrix's and Draco's. Ron has Wormtail's again. This was the wand of Draco Malfoy. Was, repeated Harry. Isn't it still his? Perhaps not. If you took it, I did, then it may be yours. Of course, the manner of taking matters. Much also depends upon the wand itself. In general, however, where a wand has been won, its allegiance will change. Ollivander does not say that all wands bound to Draco are subject to Harry's will. Harry guesses this later. Voldemort expects Lucius Malfoy's wand to work for him despite not winning it from Lucius, but it should surprise no one that it doesn't work that well for him. Ollivander gives Voldemort too much credit for understanding the wand game, or he's withholding information from Voldemort and hoping that he doesn't pick up on this. Voldemort kills Grindelwald and works out the location of the Elder Wand, but he doesn't consider how to properly transfer mastery of it. Through his link to Voldemort, Harry witnesses his enemy break open Dumbledore's tomb to take possession, but not mastery, of a wand now recognizing only Harry as master. Hermione contemplates using Bellatrix's wand as part of her disguise during the Gringotts break-in, but she feels as uneasy about this as Harry is with the Blackthorn wand. She doesn't know that Harry is the master of Bellatrix's wand, since he took it from Draco by force. The same is true of Wormtail's wand, which Ron is using. So of the 3, only Harry, with Draco's old wand, is master of his weapon, but this is just as well. If they'd realized that they each needed to win their wand from Harry and did this for form's sake, either Hermione or Ron would have become master of the Elder Wand, completely altering the book's climax. Harry is more astute about this now. Rowling writes, Harry looked down at the hawthorn wand that had once belonged to Draco Malfoy. He had been surprised but pleased to discover that it worked for him at least as well as Hermione's had done. Remembering what Ollivander had told them of the secret workings of wands, Harry thought he knew what Hermione's problem was. She had not won the Walnut Wand's allegiance by taking it personally from Bellatrix. Near the end of the 7th book, when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are in the Shrieking Shack, Harry covertly witnesses a conversation between Voldemort and Snape that reveals that Voldemort is growing savvier about the wand game, but still does not understand it entirely. He says, "The Elder Wand cannot serve me properly, Severus, because I am not its true master. The Elder Wand belongs to the wizard who killed its last owner. You killed Albus Dumbledore. While you live, Severus, the Elder Wand cannot be truly mine." Voldemort is partially correct. He's right about not being the wand's true master, but not about murder being the only way to transfer wand ownership. He fails to grasp that murder is just one way to win a wand's allegiance. But he should know this, since he's aware that Dumbledore won the wand from Grindelwald without killing him. He's also wrong about Snape being its master, because he doesn't know that Draco disarmed Dumbledore before Snape killed him. Nor does he know that even if Dumbledore had still been master of the Elder Wand at the moment of his death, because he designed and controlled his own death, he was never defeated by Snape, who was doing Dumbledore's will, as Harry later tells him. One of Voldemort's assumptions is an incorrect idea about the wand game. The second is knowledge that he lacks because he sent others to kill Dumbledore. His third assumption comes from Snape's being a successful spy, hiding his true allegiance. Even if Voldemort had known that Draco disarmed Dumbledore, he might still assume that murder trumps disarming. It would be like him to discount the disarming charm, Harry's signature move, and now also Draco's, instead favoring the killing curse, which is Voldemort's signature move. It surely never occurs to him that Dumbledore would arrange his own death, since he's dedicated to avoiding death at all costs, and he believes that Snape killing Dumbledore is a defeat for Dumbledore and a victory for him, not the other way around. Harry, as ever, plays fairly. After he stops playing possum and prepares to duel his enemy one last time, he tells Voldemort that Draco was master of the Elder Wand, not Snape, and that Harry disarmed Draco weeks earlier. So if Voldemort didn't previously know about Draco disarming Dumbledore, he knows now. Harry, consummate player of games, suspects that he knows what this means. Harry is the master of the Elder Wand. He tells Voldemort everything, leveling the playing field just as he did with Cedric. Yet the one who does not respect games, toys, and fairy tales but instinctively only attacks Harry in games or in game-like battles, does not care about game rules, even when the rules probably mean his defeat. He thinks he's above all rules, period. Voldemort goes for broke, casting the one spell that will mean his death if it backfires, rather than testing Harry's hypothesis with a different spell. Harry again casts the disarming charm, trying to prevent someone from doing harm rather than doing harm himself, even to his mortal enemy and his parents' murderer, though he knows that that enemy is attempting to murder him. He doesn't grasp for power, as Dumbledore repeatedly noted, and is again given power. You've been listening to Quantum Harry the Podcast, a podcast version of the book Quantum Harry, A Unified Theory of the Potterverse by B.L. Purdom. All music heard on Quantum Harry is composed and performed by B.L. Purdom. Whether you're streaming on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, or another podcatcher, please leave a rating and/or a comment and share episodes of Quantum Harry with your friends. For anyone who just enjoys a good Harry Potter-based discussion, join the Quantum Harry and General HP discussion Facebook group. Just go to @QHPodcast on Twitter, follow the link to the episode guide in my pinned tweet, and the link is in the second paragraph of the episode guide. Or just type Quantum Harry in the search box on Facebook, and it'll be right there under the Quantum Harry page, which you can also like and follow. All ages are welcome in the group, and anyone can post. Next time on Quantum Harry, episode 26, Until Someone Loses an Eye, part 2 of this 5-episode arc exploring games, toys, and fairy tales in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I hope you'll join me.